Now we have the interview with Veterans for America First. It's an organization from veterans, for veterans, and also for law enforcement officers and firefighters. Hello, Patricia. Hello, Vladimir. I hope I spelled it right.
No, you got it, absolutely. And not only just for law enforcement and firefighters, we try to include all of our first responders in our organization. And also peripheral national services like Border Patrol agents. We try to empower everybody who is actively fighting to protect our country, here domestically and abroad, of course.
What is your organization for? Who is Veterans for America First?
Well, because our group of people originated first with veterans. In 2015, what was to become of our organization, now Veterans for America First, the first team got together in 2015, and it was mostly comprised of veterans. And we are a non-partisan organization, and we deal with anybody who is willing to help our veterans. Though we are mostly comprised of conservatives in our organization, but again, anybody who is willing to better veteran and first responder lives, they are our friends and allies. That being said, it's called Veterans for America First because, first portion I explained, because first it was started by veterans for veterans, and then we expanded to include everybody. The second portion, America First, it is called because we're going back to the roots of our country as was intended by the framers of the Constitution. And the framers of the Constitution were very clear on everything that they have done being for America First. I mean, really, people think America First is a Donald Trump thing, but it really goes way back to Thomas Jefferson, when Thomas Jefferson said that he doesn't want American soldiers serving in foreign warships. Because imagine a situation, something goes down in a conflict that is different countries' conflict, and we have our sailors serving on those warships, and then we lose our people that have nothing to do with that fight. So America First is sort of an isolationist approach to a degree that we want to take care of our people here. And again, it's not that we hate everybody else elsewhere. It's just that we love our people here, and first and foremost, we believe we must take care of our country and our people who are making this country work.
So what do you think about the NATO? Because when you say that America First and no American soldier should die for the problems from other countries and fight in other wars for countries, but especially German soldiers did this in Afghanistan. So what are you thinking about this?
Well, we serve with a lot of NATO troops. Me personally, I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran. I served in 06 to 08 in Iraq, and then 9 to 10 in Iraq. And we serve with a lot of NATO forces. And when we are involved internationally in a conflict, of course we're gonna work together with our allies. It doesn't mean we're gonna abandon all of our allies and just go on our merry way. In fact, I strongly believe that we should have helped people of an unexisting country, Kurdistan, more. I believe, that's just my personal belief, I believe Kurds should have been given an opportunity to form their own nation, because every time, it's very close to our values, as far as the West goes, and they've always been there for us. But here we are, we get involved in this, excuse my language, microaggressions in the Middle East, and then we abandon, and because what happened here was Afghanistan is not a new thing. I mean, if you remember, we abandoned our allies and the new formerly Iraq government some time ago after Obama got to power. So, and now, again, we get involved, we've been involved in Afghanistan, and then we have another democratic leader come to power, and we abandon people in Afghanistan. So, but again, these are my opinions. Not everybody in our organization shares this perspective, but I will say that first and foremost, I believe, yes, we should be working with our allies, and if we say we're going to do something, we should follow through on this. And this is where the flip-flopping between the political parties kind of is the reason why we take a non-partisan approach, because this is not making us look good as a military community, as a nation, that we get involved, we make promises, and then because of what our duty says to abide and but our leaders, tell us to do. We kind of happen to bail out on several conflicts where we should have been there for our allies. So I do believe that we should be working together, but it doesn't excuse our thought process that as America First group, we believe that first and foremost, everything that we get involved in should benefit the American people. Again, it's not because we, don't love anybody else, or hate anybody else rather, but it's because we do love our own people, and our people here have been doing so much for everybody for so long, and with putting ourselves last. And I believe that has to change. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Actually, yes. When you come back and you look at the original thought that I don't want American soldiers serving on foreign ships, and the reason being for that, if something happens and they're lost, we're forced into a conflict. Whereas a member of NATO or a member of UN, we can choose to be involved in the conflict. So having the choice is something that this country was founded upon. So puts the two of them together. If we choose to help you, that's our choice. But we don't want to be in a situation where we're forced because of something you did.
Yes, this is a wise look on this NATO thing, because in Germany it looks like we are always forced to react when something happens, and we are in the NATO. So we have also this discussion if the Bundeswehr should be a part of the NATO or not. So you have social issues. I did a little bit of research about your website, and yes, your roots are Thomas Jefferson. You mentioned that, the Embargo Act of 1807, and now the Non-Intercourse Act under James Madison.
Right.
So these issues are veterans and first responders. Now I have questions about this national security and defense thing, because is this an inner thing, what you want to do in your country, and also outside the country? Because I always think about the army helps your country in another country. And the first responders, the police and law enforcement officers operate in the country. So
yes.
How you want to combine this?
Well, okay, so there's a two-pronged approach, and we are a 501c4 civil liberties and social welfare organization. So as a part of that, we work with nonprofits and for-profit entities, as well as governmental entities and veteran service organization across the nation. So primarily, we operate here in the United States, but it's everything that is happening outside of the United States. Whenever we get involved militarily or in aid capacity, it always goes back and reflects on the quality of life for our people here. There is such thing as echo of war, and we always have to deal with the repercussions of that. We, as a community right now, are suffering a huge amount of suicides, okay? There's something like 22 veterans a day committing suicides, and by latest numbers, depending on who you ask, some say it's up to 27. So what we're seeing with this is an increase whenever there is a military conflict, okay? And not so much even the military conflict itself, but what happens after the military conflict. Because remember, our people, it's a volunteer army, okay? Nobody here is told, hey, you're 18 years old, you must join the government, you must join the military, Everybody who raises their right hand believes in principles upon which this country was founded. And that's something that's very important to remember, is very few people actually join for reasons like, oh, I want my free medical or free dental. Is first and foremost, military has always been the thing where people believe in the foundation of our nation. And again, it was all rooted was the framers of our Constitution. So that being said, an important thing for us is to actually go back and take care of our community as they are out processing of the military. And this is actually where one of our strengths lies right now. And you ask us about how do we reconcile the national and foreign worldview on this, and if we're involved in outside of our country approaches. Well, listen, sure, first and foremost, there are veterans in other countries who have been through the same scars or war, and we always try to connect with fellow veterans in other countries, like yourself. I mean, I know you were in the German army, and it's evident to us that people who have served, we share a lot of same problems, and a lot of it is rooted in depression, PTSD, because we have seen things and we've experienced things and we've done things that were necessary for our nations, right? But our first and foremost focus here, as much as we want to, again, work with everybody and help and empower them, we open discussions with other veterans like yourself in other countries, and we try to share some of the tools and resources and what we found that works, as far as PTSD treatments for people who have been suffering with things like multiple sclerosis, which apparently is quite a big thing amongst military members, and nobody still has gotten to the root of that. My wife, she's an Army veteran herself. She has multiple sclerosis as well. But all of these things, as a brotherhood of veterans, nation or world veterans, we always care for the plight of our people, because in the end of the day, when governments and interests get involved in this, again, excuse my language, tissy-fits, our people who are determined to be the change, to fight for what is right, we are the ones always suffering. So any way we could empower and help veterans in other nations, we always try to do. But our focus has been first and foremost on our people, because they have been, if you recall, involved in back-to-back conflicts for a very long time.
So we have another social issue is immigration. So I read about that you have a very conservative thinking about this topic.
Yes.
So when you say, yes, immigration is okay, in which way? Mm-hmm. And when you say no, why not? Because because you are now facing a border crisis, mm-hmm. with thousands of refugees trying to enter your country or entered your country, and you are in front of a big problem with all these persons. And how do you want to solve it, or what do you think about would be the best opportunity to solve this problem?
Immigration has always been a very big part of our community. Again, and it still does go back to the founding of this country, when everybody wanted to escape the persecution, and then what happened here in this country, right? And America has always been a place where you can make a good life for yourself and your family. So again, everybody wants to come to America. What we want is we want everybody to come to America legally on merit-based system, okay? We're not saying we don't want immigrants from all over the world. We're saying if you're coming to America, and you want to make life better for yourself and your family, you have to appreciate the countries that it's given to you. Look, no other country in the world does more for its citizens than U.S. And for instance, with unemployment here, we have people who do not have jobs, but who get, monthly payment from the government. And unlike many socialistic governments, we're not mandating to our people saying, hey, if you don't do what we like, you're gonna stop getting checks. We don't do that. We don't say, hey, the moment you do not get your children vaccinated, we're gonna take your children away and put them in the custody of the government. See, we don't have that. Yes, we give a lot to our people, and we do not, ask for a lot in return. So now, but coming back to immigration, the crisis on the southern border is one of the reasons why veteran community in droves supported former President Donald Trump, okay? When he first started outspokenly speaking about the issues on the southern border and says we have a lot of drugs coming in, we have a lot of people coming in with problems, and that Mexico really is not sending our best. This message resonated with our community for two reasons. Number one, a lot of our people served in Border Patrol post-separation from service, okay? It just tends that military people go to federal jobs such as firefighters, police, law enforcement, border patrol agents. So when Trump announced he was running, at the time, I actually listened to his speech and I said, well, I wonder if what he's saying about the southern border is exaggerated or not. So I called some of my friends that I served with in Iraq, and who were at the time serving as a border patrol agent. And I asked them and I said, hey, listen, is what this guy is saying is true? Are we really, in fact, having such a big problem on the southern border? Well, the answer that I got was, Vlad, it actually gets even worse, because we do have a lot of people coming through our southern border who are not just coming from South American nations. We have a lot of Middle Easterners coming through the southern border. We have no idea who they are. What we do know is they're speaking the same dialect and they look at us the same way that people looked at us in Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay, so that to us largely resonates because we were involved in all of these conflicts in Middle East, and when you have millions of American veterans who were involved in those conflicts, how do you think they would sleep at night if you tell them, hey, we don't know who, but some of the very people who were trying to slit your throats at night while we were trying to restore liberty and freedom to their countries and were involved in their civil wars dictated by your government, okay? So they're coming here. So, and well, good luck to you. So that message resonated quite loudly, and this is why a lot of veterans supported Donald Trump, is because, again, we don't hate the people in other countries, not at all, but we want merit-based and legal immigration. My family, before we came here, and again, I'm an immigrant myself, okay? And you see a lot of this with our first generation immigrants. It's not that we don't want anybody else to come in, right? But we want people to come in based on merit. It took us a long time to be able to get to this country, okay? And we had to prove that we have assets, that we're gonna be able to hold jobs, that we're gonna be able to start businesses here for us to be considered for this. And after we got here on, it was legal immigration on a visa, I joined US Army and I raised my right hand and I volunteered to go to Iraq, and fight for our nation. And then and only then did I receive my citizenship. Okay, so the question always remains, and this is the thought process that is important to us. It is not what we can do for you as a nation, okay? It is what do you want to do for our nation, okay? It has to be a two-way street. We cannot continue giving and giving and giving to people who do not want to participate in our society, who want to change our society, because that leads to, well, what happened with Europe. I mean, and Germany in particular. You got overflooded with immigrants who don't share your... Excuse me.
No problem. You can answer the question. You can start.
But no, I don't want to continue. If we can actually cut this in here, because what this said, my phone just said, head west. Okay, and that's my thought process for people like yourself. Okay, maybe it's time the rest of the world heads west, and again, if you want to be a member of our society, you have to be wanting to be a member of our society and participate in our liberties, in our due process. Okay, we want you to want to contribute to our nation, not just come here and say, hey, you know what? I am here now. I want you to do all of this for me. Well, I'm sorry, and if you're gonna do bare minimum, look, personally, I'm a very faithful man, and I do not believe God is big in mediocrity, okay? If you want government to do everything for you, and you want to do your bare minimum, there is a plethora of countries out there who would do that. Go there.
Additionally, if you look at our founding statement, which is America First, and then we have an open border, and you let anyone come across, our government takes the point of view that once you're here, we're responsible for you.
Okay.
So by being responsible for the millions of people who come here illegally, they're no longer being responsible for the people who are here legally.
So who can care for them?
They give homes, food, flights, clothes, and benefits to illegal aliens.
Before they do to our veterans who are
And they
still
leave our
struggling.
veterans homeless on the streets. That's not America First, that's everyone else first. We are your citizens. We paid our taxes. We should come first. I'm not against being generous and helpful, but you should prioritize, and your citizens that contributed and belong to you should be first.
Yeah.
What is happening a lot with, especially, the two-party system, is each party is always fighting for votes and to stay or to gain power. So what, tends to happen a lot is if a certain voting bloc in an area doesn't move, it is easier for them, rather than to cater to their own citizens, is to get people, from other places and say, hey, come to our country, we're gonna give you everything, and be known that we did it for you.
So you can vote for us.
You can vote for us. So it's a great immigration, it's a great population replacement. And this is what we're not about. Again, we don't say that we don't want anybody to come. We want people to come, but we want people to come who want to be American, who want to better their lives, who want to have freedoms.
At the same time, you have to consider that it's a lack of enforcing the law.
Yep.
If I, as a citizen of this country, jump the turnstile at John F. Kennedy Airport, I go to jail. You, as an immigrant, jump the river and walk in the country, you get gifts.
Quite ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, another small portion I just would like to add on that was everything that has been happening with illegal immigration in our country. When we tried to put a stop to it with Donald Trump, and again, this is what I said, Donald Trump resonated with a lot of veterans. And again, we are a non-partisan organization because we understand there's a lot of flaws and, again, some bipolar type behavior between the parties and, what our men and women are being told to do. But we made a decision as a country to secure our borders, right? And we invested a ton of money into building the wall. And, it's still not finished, and there are some spots where it still has gaps, but for the most part, it's nice and secure, right? And I want to give you an example of one of our national spokesmen, Admiral Charles Kubik, okay? And he's a he's 3-star admiral, and he's retired. He has his own construction company, and he's responsible for building close to 200 miles of the wall on the southern border. We're actually going to be there sometime soon, and we were some time ago. Look, as an organization, we donated over 700 meals together with some of our allies to Border Patrol agents not so long ago, okay? And they're grateful. But one thing that Border Patrol agents keep telling us as veterans, and again, there are a lot of veterans in their midst, they're saying the problem is we're not allowed to do our job. We're not allowed to enforce the law, okay? So my question is, then what are we paying you for? What are you doing here if you're not allowed to enforce the law? Now, with that wall, and what I said was Admiral Kubik, look, after the administrations shifted and Donald Trump was no longer in power, a new administration came, Admiral Kubik was told that he needs to cease and desist his product over there immediately, even though it was paid for. Everything was already done. All he had to do was continue on. And all of the equipment, materials, everything was there. He was told to stop what he's doing. And to this day, here we are, close to a year later. All of that expensive equipment and materials and steel, all of it is just sitting there collecting dust and rusting. It makes absolutely no sense for us. If things were already done and paid for, continue on. What kind of message we're trying to send? The message that we're trying to send to other nations is that of disharmony and bipolar behavior as a nation. What we're saying is, hey, if you do not like what we are doing as a nation, it's okay. So long as we have good party relationship and, you could help us advance interest of this party over the other, we will cater to what you want. That is not America first. And that is catering to everybody else first. And I do not believe in globalism. And majority of people in our community do not believe in globalism. We stand as a shining example of what our community should be about, as far as taking care of your nation first. And it was actually, this was said very brilliantly by the former president. He said, look, every nation's leader must take care of their nation first, okay? Putin taking care of Russia first, oh my God, that's an amazing thing. Good, take care of your nation first, you know. Merkel needs to take care of Germany first, not everybody else, okay? And that's the thought process that we're, abiding here, saying, look, we don't mind helping, but let us sort out our problems and don't tell us that we must help you. How dare you? I'm sorry, okay, Greta needs to go back to school, okay? But that's my thought process. How dare you tell a bunch of people who have been at this much longer than you have, who understand geopolitics and issues within their own country, you know, based on your limited understanding of one certain issue with, and again, I do not know the extent that she has the understanding of the climate crisis, but again, from what I understand, a lot of this is always up for debate, and there is not a consensus, even in the scientific community, of what is happening with the climate, okay? But trying to put a 11-year-old kid for brownie points to guilt everybody else into doing what they want is absurd.
So now we switch the point and go to the law and justice part, because you really grace the Second Amendment, and as me, a citizen from a country who has not the right to wear guns in public, how can you say this is important? Because actually I understand it, because I served in the army. I know what guns can do, what they shouldn't do, and it's always the guy who used the gun, not the gun is the problem. But how you can compare this with the crime? Because in Europe they say if you have more guns in the country, you have more crime. Is this the truth also in your country?
If you look at crime rate amongst law-abiding gun owners in conservative states where we have fairly free access to firearms, and cities where we have large population and fairly free access to firearms, versus the democratically run cities like Chicago, like Detroit. By the way, do you know how many gangs we have in Chicago?
A lot?
Dozens.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about 2-3 dozens.
Okay.
Okay, Chicago and Detroit and cities, places like that, they're the most gun-regulated places in the country. So again, it's quite the opposite. The more you regulate the issue, the worse problem becomes. And the reason why is because law-abiding gun owners have seldomly built a problem. The problem is those criminals who want to put you at a gunpoint and say, hey, give me your stuff or I'm gonna kill you, because there's no repercussions. How are you gonna defend yourself? I hope you have been taking martial arts and you have a crossbow at the house, okay? That's the only thing that I could say. But again, when you are dealing with free and independent society, you can protect your family and you can protect your friends around you if something goes wrong. Criminals, a lot of them are cowards. Okay, and you as a veteran know that, and you've been in Kosovo, so you understand the dynamics of armed and armed society that is capable of protecting itself. This was one of the founding principles of our nation, is that we want a free and independent society, and we want our citizens to have the right to bear arms. And I promise you that right to bear arms was not reserved by founding fathers for us so we can go and hunt deer and boar, okay? No, it was reserved so we could protect ourselves from an oppressive and tyrannical government if it ever comes to that way. I want you to look at history of the world just briefly. I mean, we're so quick to forget our own history. You remember what happened with Mao, what happened with Hitler, what happened with Stalin? The first thing they do is they disarm their population, okay? Because a population that cannot protect itself, they will fall in line. Okay, a population that knows it can protect their family, they have options. Okay, Hitler disarmed German people, Mao disarmed, and then it just goes into genocide. And this is just really a precursor to communism or Nazism or fascism. And people always, think that the right wings are just generally attributed to Nazism. Okay, well, that's kind of wrong thought process, because even in the name Nazi, right? It's, how do you say it in German?
Nationalsozialismus.
Okay, and what does the second word stand for?
Socialism.
Right. So national socialism. So because they hear the word nationalism, they always say, "Oh my God, you have the right-wing mentality." No, I'm sorry. It's far from it. The right-wing mentality is taking care of your nations and your citizens first. You know, giving them as much freedom as possible and having limited government. Your government is not there to run your lives. What President back then, Obama, said is the minds of individuals are private individuals are too small to be able to govern their own affairs. Well, that is, and I'm sorry, Mr. Former President, this is a loser mentality. You would be surprised, but our people are quite capable of governing their own lives and affairs. In a matter of fact, this is why America is, you know, the envy of the world was our economy, because this economy was not achieved by the government. This economy was achieved by private enterprises and businesses and people like our veterans and first responders and entrepreneurs who started, you know, looking into things and how to do things. You know, whether it's in the computer field, by Bill Gates's and by, oh my God, Apple's, Steve Jobs's, okay? Because we can here create our own enterprises and govern our own affairs, okay? And without government over-regulation. So, and that is one of the very important things for us. And we want everybody in this country to be able to govern and create their own fate. And I promise you, yes, there are a lot of people who need help and who just want to be having their job and paid alone, left alone. But a lot of people want to be all they could be, and they want to create, and they want to empower people, not just in this country, but all over the world, by introducing new projects, by introducing new products and new technologies, okay? And government interference is not a good thing into this, and this all goes down to, you know, being free and independent nation, and with firearms, being able to protect ourselves against tyrannical government. You know, we're not there yet, but the more you know, government reaches its, you know, power, the more it seems that you know, we are headed that way. We're definitely not a Germany status right now, to where they could take away our children and give them in possession of the government if we do not, you know, comply with something as simple as a vaccination shot, and they would say that, oh my God, you're doing child abuse by not giving your child this vaccine that we have no long-term studies of what's going to happen. Okay, we're not there yet. Okay, but those are precursors to that, and if we do not keep our Second Amendment, we would have nothing as a nation to protect our First Amendment with. Okay, so do you have anything to add, Patricia?
No.
So actually, I think it was the quote from Thomas Jefferson: "If tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty." Yeah. Do you think America is at this point right now?
Yes. And I do believe that resistance, and I'm not talking about armed resistance right now. I want it to be clear, you know, the events of January 6th and all of that happened. Our community does not condone or back any of the violence that transpired. But civil resistance right now with legal means, and that is where we must be as a community. We need to get our people in local precincts. We need to get our people across the nation to get involved in our voting and electoral process, because, and this is actually an odd thing to say, as a rule of thumb, Republicans or conservatives work, and they work a lot, so they do not get involved as much in local elections, while the left, American left, is always involved in community approaches, and they do things like soup kitchens, local programs, local nonprofits, and they engage the youth. So this is where we must be as a nation now. You know, I could quite comfortably sit at home and take care of my family, go on vacations, you know, and with my skill sets that I have and some of my friends and allies, I could be making a ton of money. Yet, you know, I sacrificed my time, majority of my time, to be doing this. And it's because this is important. I want my children to be raised in a country that is free and independent, and where they have a chance to become whatever they want. Okay, and that all really just goes down to us being involved as a community. We are at a precipice right now to where opposition, and I'm not calling the left opposition per se, because again, we're a nonpartisan organization. Whatever benefits veterans and first responders and citizens of this nation is what we're about. And you know what benefits citizens of a nation? Putting that nation's interests first. Okay, so people might call us right-wing or whatever. Really, you know, we would work with whoever is putting our nation first. But, and by the way, since when is it a crime to put your nation and interest of your citizens first? Okay, it is absurd. But globalism has come to, you know, much of Europe, and has been encompassing the world. We've been in this fight for a long time, but right now, U.S. is on a precipice, okay, of change, and organizations like ours, we stand in a way of that. Look, future is always insistent. It's sameness. It's a wholeness. Everybody's tall and happy there. That's a quote, by the way, from a movie, Cosmopolis. Okay, but this is why future always fails, because we cannot all be tall and happy there. Okay, because future, as it becomes insistence, doesn't see the flaws and the horrors in the schemes it builds. It doesn't see all of the people that it leaves behind. This is why Trump happened in the first place, because too many regular people are not ready for this Californication future of the world. And this is why something happened, to correct the acceleration of time, okay? Because, again, as future becomes insistent, it leaves people behind. And this is why it must be everybody's duty to allocate some time. I want you all to go to your local precincts. I want you all to become precinct committee men and committee women, okay? Unless you get involved in local politics, school board up, nothing is gonna change, okay? So, and if anybody needs information on how to get involved, please reach out to our organization. I will connect you with everybody across the nation, where you live, and who you should be connected with. And again, we do everything ethically and legally, putting our country first. We do not condone violence, but we want our public to be free, independent, and capable of protecting themselves if conflict comes to U.S. soil. Thanks.
So, okay, now I read a lot about your projects on your website. So you have housing, jobs, wellness, and faith. So what are your plans for housing?
Well, before I get to that, let me rewind here for a second and say a word or two about projects, okay? Because everything we spoke about up until this point was largely about policies and politics. But again, I want it to be known that we are not a PAC or a super PAC. We are a civil liberties and social welfare organization. We do not get, you know, directly involved and raise funds for politicians. We don't do any of that, okay? There are politicians who run on America First values that we endorsed in the past and would continue to endorse, okay? Anybody who is willing and wanting to improve lives, really, these are our candidates. And our ideal candidate is really a libertarian, okay? A libertarian who loves America. So now you're talking about projects and what we do in a community. And I just want it to be very well known. Politics and political activism is less than 10% of what we do organizationally, okay? We do teach and educate people, like in this conversation, a lot about the thought process and why we are America First veterans and, you know, first responders. But as far as what we do in a community, that's a whole other conversation. And we're here to empower our community in many ways, shapes, or forms that organizations on the left have been doing for a long time. And this is what I wanted to see more of. I wanted to see organizations on the right get involved in the communities and actually do good, okay? Because you cannot go to a black community and bribe there to vote for your party 5 days before Thanksgiving with a turkey. It's absurd, okay? If you want to have voice in that community, you must be engaged in that community. You must go seek out the community and do whatever is necessary to better their lives. And politics and what happens with that is a side effect. You concentrate on politics too much, you're gonna lose. You need to concentrate on your community. And the community that makes this country tick is veterans and first responders, okay? We've always been the backbone of the nation, and we'll continue to be the backbone of the nation, okay? Now with what we're doing, you're asking about housing,
yes,
jobs, wellness, and faith.
Yes,
okay.
Because I heard that you are helping homeless veterans
Yes.
with your 4 months rehabilitation plan. And now my question is, what happens after that?
Okay, well, quite a few things. How are we helping? We have a two-pronged approach to our housing, okay? We have programs, and by the way, what you see on the website are just our main pioneering efforts, but we're involved with organizations all over the nation. These are not our only projects, but these are our largest projects with points of concentration for which we want volunteers, help, support, and for which we're reaching out to get those things. Okay. Now, when it comes to homeless veterans, and we have a huge population of homeless veterans, again, we work with for-profits, non-profits, governmental agencies, and VSOs. So when you're asking about our 4-month program, it's not just our 4-month program. We have 4-month programs designed by many nonprofits, and we have many allies who've been helping actively homeless veterans. For instance, from a small nonprofits, Revelry Bridge Foundation, led by Lee Roberts. He's a fellow veteran, and their organization does both. They have a program to help homeless veterans and prevent suicides, and they've been successful in both on a small scale, and they're getting bigger with it. But this is what we do as an organization. We find ideas and organizations that actually do their diligence and that make the change, and we empower and try to scale them and their projects nationally through our extensive network of friends and allies. Now, you're asking about our 4 months program, and before we get to the 4-month program, it's important to understand we have found this amazing couple in the state of Texas, okay, as Peggy and Bobby Krutzinger. And what they have done is they have organized donations of 56 RVs across Texas to homeless veterans. No governmental or VA program has come close to being able to do something so quick on such a scale to help this many people. We like their idea because a lot of times these RVs, or I do not know what they're called in Germany, the recreational vehicles, some of them are mobile, some of them are towable, right? So they have beds, they have places to sleep, they have mini kitchens and all of this, right? Look, listen, not everybody is able to donate homes or places to live to veterans because we do not have the proper infrastructure there yet, but we're getting there. VA is very effective, not everywhere, but places like South Carolina, we just met with Secretary of South Carolina's VA. They are very effective in their approach, and we're looking forward to working with them together. But they're led by some amazing veteran individuals with qualifications that far supersede mine. Now, it's not like that everywhere. Not everybody is ahead of the curve like that, but there are places, again, where veterans need help, and they've been on the street, and those RVs, recreational vehicles, a lot of times, they just sit somewhere, collect dust for 5, 10, 20 years. People who bought them originally to travel the country no longer do. They retired or they passed on. And those things, a lot of times they need maintenance, or they just occupy space of the children of the family, of the people who it belonged to. So they would either turn to scrap them or to sell them inexpensively or to donate them. And this is where Operation Texas Strong with Bobby and Peggy Krutzinger in Weatherton came together, and they were able to facilitate 56 of these RVs being donated to them that they turn around and they give to other veterans. Now we have gotten to them. We sent a delegation over there, and we spent some time with them. We've identified their processes. We identified, and by the way, we have a small documentary coming out talking about their family, because they're both descendants from our veterans, and they're doing this for our veterans because they want to honor their veteran ancestors. Okay. But we've identified their process, and we entered into a strategic partnership to where we're going to help take a version or a form of their project nationwide. And I want you to just do rudimentary math. 6 months, you've got 56 RVs, let's say 50, right? 50 RVs times 50 states, 48, okay? Continental USA is what we're, we love Hawaii, but I don't think it's a very very abundant resource in Hawaii, okay? Although Hawaii was responsible for giving us some of our very, very controversial presidents. It's a joke. We love you, Hawaii. Aloha. Okay. But with the donation of these RVs across the nation, again, do simple math, 50 times 50 is 2,500 every 6 months. So our goal is we want to have 5,000 homeless veterans off the streets by the end of 2022. Okay, and we'll give ourselves some time and a little slack with this as we're ramping up this project. But this is what we've done. We have started a chapter in every state, you know, specifically for this project, and we call it Operation Strengths to give credit and honor to Bobby and Peggy Kratzinger, which are Texas Strong. What we want to do, we want to make every state strong, okay? And guys, if you have towing capabilities, you want to be involved in helping veterans and be a part of the push to get homeless veterans off the streets, if you would like to donate to our organization or volunteer, do contact us. It's veteransforamericafirst.org, okay? And there's forms all over the website where you can get involved, okay? Because this has to be a unified push. We are working, again, with everybody, for-profit, non-profit, governmental, VSO, and different veteran organizations to do that. Now, when it comes to the next portion, after we get these RVs, you know, donated to our organization. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who need a tax deductible gift in kind, that is available. So if you're trying to sell your RV for $2,000-3,000 on Facebook Marketplace, look, come to us. We can do things for you, okay? So that being said, after a veteran gets an RV, we don't just abandon them saying, here's your keys, okay? No, we make sure a veteran is gonna have a place on which that RV is gonna reside for at least a year, okay? Then we help that veteran with reconnecting with VA, recapturing their benefits, helping them finding jobs, which goes into our whole, you know, jobs and wellness and face. All of our 4 pillars, which are jobs, home, housing, wellness, and face, they all work together. Okay, we have separate programs on each one, but we cross-pollinate them, and we bring a lot of tools and resources and allies to be a part of this effort. Okay, every veteran, you know, who comes through our doors gets a suite of resources, and we follow through and make sure that they're all taken care of. It's a community approach. We must take care of our own. Yeah, but this is one pillar what we do with homeless veteran community. We also have a project called Net Zero for Heroes that we're getting off the ground. It's not quite there yet, but we are providing at a reduced cost, less than that of being able to buy a whole brand new construction built of brick and mortar, of steel frame constructions that are 7.1 on Richter scale, 250 mile wind and hour resistant, that are fireproof, sound resilient, that are pest and termite proof, and that are constructed within 6 weeks and are cheaper for our veterans. And again, as brand new construction buildings, our veterans usually you know, don't have money down or money in their pocket to cover the closing costs. Well, this is something that we are in the process of remedying, because we want our veterans to be able to afford brand new, state-of-the-art construction buildings with methods that usually have been reserved for commercial building. And we want to be able to offer that to them with no money out of pocket and with closing costs offset with, again, incredible VA rates and done quickly. So this is something we're working on over there in housing. I'm gonna very briefly touch on the other two because I know it's probably gonna be your next questions about the jobs. Look, as far as jobs, we are creating a national network. It's called Project Unity, or rather SHD, Project Unity. It stands for Strategic Homeland Defense, Project Unity. And that's a project that we're starting by connecting all of the veteran, first responder, and patriot-owned businesses. And look, we have a lot of liberal patriot businesses. Believe it or not, we have a lot of businesses on the left who love our countries, they want to help, they love our veterans, because look, you don't have to be conservative to love our veterans and first responders in our country. And that's a kind of a unifying message that we want to send, because again, not everybody is going to agree with everything a party dictates, and this very black and white approach is something that we do not care for a lot. We need dialogue in this country, first and foremost, and without the dialogue, conversation breaks up. Since when the right and left is supposed to be one loves America and one is against it? No, this is nonsense. And if anybody in your party is telling you, oh, if you're in this party, America first type is garbage. No, look, listen, this is a wrong approach. We all are in this country because we love this country. And if you're not, I'm sorry, you need to go. okay? But regardless of your party affiliation, we all should be here to better American lives. And you shouldn't be ashamed to say that you love your country. You might not like some things that, you know, some elected representatives have done, or some of the history of your country, but your country and the love for this country and what it stands for as a shining beacon on the top of the hill should always be in your heart. And if it is not, I implore you and I challenge you to travel. Look how life is in other places of the world, okay? And spend a little bit of time there and come back here to understand how privileged you are. And I promise you, it's not a part of that white privilege, okay? It's a part of the American privilege, okay, that we have here. Now, with that, we're starting a network of veteran and first responder and patriot-owned businesses who all want to employ veterans and first responders and also provide benefits and services for our veterans and first responders and their fraternal organization and essential services like Border Patrol at discounted rates and with an ability to do it quickly and exponentially, okay? Wellness, I know that's the next. We are having a very holistic approach to issues, okay? Because again, medical expertise is not our strong suit. I mean, people and organizations have, you know, just that and do that and that alone. But we do know that eating healthy, exercising, and you know, not being on 50 million different types of drugs does help individuals have healthy lives. Okay, so we foster a very holistic type approach to where we try to provide people with tools and resources that are needed, whether it is treatment with ketamine for addiction or cannabinoids or for PTSD, sleep deprivation, all of this stuff, or hyperbaric chambers. First of all, more than anything, and I implore everybody to pick one of our friends and allies, mine, Boone Cutler. He said, more than anything, our community needs access to resources and tools to educate themselves of what is possible. And again, some of those things, I see you there wrote them down, the hormone replacement therapy and CBD, all of that stuff is on our website, all the things that we are pioneering, and we're partnering with a lot of organizations that provide these services for veterans, and we're trying to get a lot of that stuff into the VA, okay? One of the things that we're actively trying to get into the VA is pro-life umbilical cord stem cells, okay? Again, as I mentioned before, my wife had multiple sclerosis, and her life expectancy as per VA was 43 years old, and guess what? She's past that now, okay? And she was in a really bad shape. She had progressive multiple sclerosis. She would walk and she'd forget how to talk, and then she'd just pause in the middle of a sentence. So this was not an easy thing, you know, and she was very shy and, you know, private about it. But now, since she's gotten better, she's become very outspoken about it. So I have her permission to share this, okay? She became very outspoken about this. The reason she got better, and she was in a really bad shape again, she would walk outside, any temperature change, and she would get flare-ups. Really bad. But the reason she got better is because of a kind of outreach and work we do in a community. One of our allies and friends, Dr. Darcy Brunk in Texas, he has been as kind as to donate 10 cc's of, you know, umbilical, you know, pro-life, umbilical cord pro-life stem cells to my wife, and she was almost immediately able to feel better. And since then, she stopped her monthly infusions in the chemo unit in VA. I mean, she still has multiple sclerosis and it's bad, but she, from being progressive remitting, she went to a plateau to where it is more manageable. She have gotten off of pretty much all of the medications that were associated with this condition. So, and this kind of thing happens a lot with our veterans, and not just with multiple sclerosis. TBI is a big thing. Traumatic brain injury is a big thing with our veterans. And again, stem cells, they work. They really do. So what we're in the process of is creating a study and a nonprofit specifically dedicated for that, and we're getting some of the best leading experts in the field. We're still in the process. It'll take some time. But we are wanting to get people involved, establish a process, and create a documentary with over 100 some veterans who have a lot of problems, and we are gonna fundraise to make sure that they are gonna get their stem cell treatments, and they're gonna be able to get inside VA. Why pro-life stem cells is because, again, as divided as our community is right now on political issues, whether we're looking, at the things that are happening in country, or even such thing as stem cells. The moment people hear stem cells, they think dead babies. Well, okay, how can we get this product to veterans without them thinking, oh my God, a child was murdered for me to be able to have that? Well, one thing people do not always realize, stem cells could be derived from umbilical cord, from live birth. So our approach is a type of approach that is not gonna harm anybody, and that we could still demonstrate the effectiveness of this and get this into VA one way or another. Do you have anything to add?
You've done so well. I'm fortunate.
Well, thanks. Because Patricia is, she is very humble, but she is been a very strong. She's been at the tip of the spear of getting this project up and running. Okay.
Thank you for that.
I'm happy to help any way that I can.
Politically speaking, rallies and things are being open to with pastors and priests on the right side more than so on the left. So we're trying to, again, tell people, look, listen, it doesn't matter what side of political party we're on, we all kind of need to go a little bit towards the middle here and find common ground, okay? There's going to be people who do not like, faith-based approaches in the government. There's going to be those who do. But, if we start catering to individuals versus the majority of people, we're going to, have problems. First and foremost, yes, take care of your individuals, but if majority of people want faith-based approach, please provide it for them, okay? That being said, we have a lot of friends and allies like Pastor Leon Benjamin, Pastor Massey, Pastor Mark Burns, who are very outspoken conservative pastors, and we're working with them in several capacities. First and foremost, we want to give faith revitalization in our country. And when we do work with them, we speak with them, we always have this conversation that people need to stop being afraid of being Christian, or being a Hindu, or being a Orthodox Jew, or just stop. Okay, if this is your faith, speak openly and loudly about it, because this country was founded on religious freedoms and without fear of being prosecuted. Okay, so do not be afraid to open your rally or a speech if you're a Democrat, with having a pastor speak. Why? This is absurd. No, I mean, get faith-based communities involved, because here's something that is very important to understand. Almost every city and town in U.S. has a church, and sometimes more than one. Faith-based organizations are woven into the very fabric of our nation, and faith-based organizations are also perfectly strategically positioned all over our nation to be able to help people who need it most. So we want churches to stop just gathering on Sundays and just there to speak with you a little bit about here and there. No, the churches must be at the forefront of a lot of nonprofit efforts to help everybody in the country. Okay, I want churches to do donation drives for food. I want churches to do donation drives for clothes. I want them to work with us and our organizations to turn around and provide veterans in need for those things. I want churches to provide shelter, work, help, guidance, and community support to veterans. So, but it's not, this is just an overall statement about faith. The thing that we have pioneering right now, first and foremost, in-faith pillar of our organization, is Civilian 101. Civilian 101 is a 501c3 that is in the state of Massachusetts, that was started by one of our brothers in arms, who is a Marine Corps veteran. You never say former Marine, Marine Corps veteran, Jeff Wickens. Okay, and he's a fantastic individual, and we had a lot of conversations. And what we've identified is one of the leading causes of suicide and depression in the community, the veteran community, is specifically lack of community. As veterans, we tend to do everything together. We work, sleep, exercise together, we fight and we have fun together. So a story goes something like this. A veteran joins the U.S. military, and They get accustomed to a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a unity, where we're all taking care of our nation first. And as imperfect as our military is, because every military is imperfect, but we have a very big sense of unity in our community. And that being said, when veteran leaves the service, a lot of times that is lost in translation. Veteran gets sent to the very place they started their journey from, and that doesn't work out so well, because they get accustomed to feeling that they belong, feeling that they have a purpose. And then they get thrown into a foreign world, and some of them serve for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and it's a shame to say this, but some of them get out of service and they don't even know how to manage a checkbook, because military largely provided a lot of help and support with all of these things. So they get thrown in the wrong place. They do not know how to manage their lives, and they have no peer support. So community is a very big contributing factor to suicides and depression. And guess who is best positioned across the nation to help with that? Faith-based organization. Okay, there's one in every town, and a lot of times there's at least 1 or 2 veterans in there. So our goal with Civilian 101 is to bridge the gap in the transition between veterans and civilian life. I mean, it was our military service as a transition from military service to civilian life. We want to bridge the gap as they out-process in TRICARE. We want, we want our brochures. We want to, and we're opening this conversation right now. We want our people to be able to transition from, military service to civilian life, and be able to be connected with a faith-based representative wherever they go in their hometown. So there is a very big national push and effort, and for that we need thought leaders and faith leaders to work with us all across the nation. Okay?
Okay, that sounds perfect, but now let me ask something, because I read a lot about this Clinton Foundation, who collected a lot of donations for Haiti, and the money never came there, or only a bit of the amount of money. So how can you be sure that what you get in to help the veterans, really gets to the veterans?
Well, as far as our organization, first and foremost, we have full and complete transparency of everything we do. None of our board members are paid. Everybody's volunteer. Since we have started and since we've been doing this, we have never pocketed any money. Everything we've always raised has been used as a community, and we made sure that we followed through personally. Do you want to add anything specifically to that, to answer her question?
You covered it very quickly, but everything that we bring in, whether it's a physical donation, a financial donation, or even a future donation, which are legacy donations, they go towards running the projects. Not only is our board volunteer, but everyone below them at this time. There are going to be some paid positions that we're going to have, because you need professionals in those positions. I want professional CPAs personally to sit there and prepare the reports to show people this is where we spent every penny, this went to this project. There's nothing that we won't disclose. You have a request, you send it to me, and I'll make sure you see it.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have full accountability of ourselves, and we demand full accountability from our allies, with whom we're working in this project.